Hello, everyone, and welcome to Three Coaches, One Topic. And tonight we're going to be doing things a little bit differently because we are so close to Christmas. But before we get into it, I will hand you over to Carol and Wendy, who are joining me today, and they're just going to tell you a little bit about themselves and their businesses. I will hand over to you, Carol.
Thank you, Donna. Hi, everyone. My name is Carol Glynn, and I am the owner of Conscious Finance Coaching. I am a finance coach and a chartered accountant, and what I do is essentially take the fear out of money. I help people understand the best ways to manage their money for them, be it in their business or in their personal finances, and how to align their money habits and their mindset along with their values. Pretty much me.
Wendy.
Hi, I'm Wendy, and I'm an embrainer, a trainer, and a coach. So I love to help people connect their multiple brains, so their heart, their head, and their gut, to get more alignment and tap into their wisdom, and get amazing results. So that's what I love to do. I do other stuff too, but that's my magic.
We've only got half an hour, Wendy.
I know.
Don't be greedy. And I'm Donna Burfield, and I'm the founder of Joy and Purpose Coaching, and I work with parents. I am extremely passionate about parenting, and I'm a single parent myself, and I have 3 children, and I worked in education for 26 years, 8 of those being in learning support. So that's a huge passion of mine. And I also run a group called Coaches Supporting Coaches Dubai, where there is about, nearly 158 or something in our group now. And it's a community where we support one another. It's not a place where we're selling and, that sort of thing, but it is uplifting, inspiring, and heavily based on the old ethics and competencies, shall we say. So that's me. Today we're going to be talking about all things Christmas and the spirit of Christmas. Especially when we talk about the spirit of Christmas, we tend to remember when we were children and the challenges of Christmas when you're an adult and you've got guests, or you're actually going back overseas to visit people. So I think one of the nice ways for us to start is, what's one of your Christmas memories, maybe as a child? Don't mind who starts.
Well, for me, I don't think I have one Christmas memory, but I remember Christmas. Christmas was a huge celebration in our house. So it was the lead up to it. It was the smells in the house. It was people calling around. It was the excitement of Christmas. When I think back to my childhood, that's what it was. I don't remember one particular event. It was just the excitement of it. That just makes me smile.
Great. Wendy?
Yeah, I'd say similar. It's a whole filing cabinet full of memories for me. And it is more about the anticipation, especially as a kid. How many days to go, and having an advent calendar and counting down, and then eating too many chocolates and then getting confused with how, what date it should be and how many days. I think coming from such a huge family was, it was also a time of busyness and people overload and faces that you haven't seen from one year to the next. And so family gatherings, a lot of washing up, and it was a sign of kids to wash up. Yeah.
There was no dishwashers back in those days. It was children that were the dishwashers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Clearing away the table. Yeah, I think for me, I'm one of 6, so it was a busy time. I just remember my mum always being sat there dishing out the Christmas presents, and she always had a big black rubbish bag to collect all the wrapping paper. That memory really stuck. And also growing up in the 70s, okay, it was gaudy. We had all the bright green, pink, there was no sort of like calming colors up against, you know, they used to do it from the light all the way to the corner of the room, and the Christmas tree had lametta on it. I mean, we lived in a fire hazard. I mean, how there wasn't more fires, I don't know. So that is a big memory for me. And I think as an adult, I've gone completely the opposite way. When I've decorated my house, it's very woodland with snow and greens and reds and warm. I don't have all these brightly coloured things. Have you carried anything on from your childhood to your Christmases now or as an adult?
I think my Christmases are very similar to how we had them growing up, and that was quite deliberate in the sense of how we celebrate. So it's Christmas dinner at home, just the family. You know, we don't go out. From a decoration point of view, my mother, as the years went on, there was more and more and more decorations. Yes, and back in the day, we had those as the bunting from the top as well, and snow stencils on the windows, and the amount of cleaning afterwards, I can only imagine. But I go all out on decorations. Like I have my Christmas village that takes up half the room, that comes out every year, and it just brings me so much joy. It takes up way too much space, but I love it. And people who come in love it, and it's a real point of conversation when people come into the house, and the kids love it. And that, I think, I definitely brought forward from my mother, that celebration of it, you know, the decorations, and doing it in my way. You know, I've learned to do it how I want to do it, and not that I'm not thinking about anybody else, but just bringing my own touch to it. But I'd like to think it's definitely less gaudy, like as you described. It was done back then. I don't think there's no tinsel to be seen, but I believe tinsel comes back every now and again anyway. Comes back into fashion, but the minute we don't have any tinsel, I don't think it's too much of a fire hazard, but we don't have the open fire, which I miss. You know, decorating the fireplace. I used to have one here, a pretend one, and we decorate the fireplace. It just doesn't work anymore. But less of a fire hazard, a little bit more classy, I hope.
Well, it's your style, your tradition. Well, you wait until your kids are your age and say, oh yeah.
I remember when Mammy used to make this thing. Oh my God, it was hideous.
Absolutely. And Wendy, what about you? What have you taken, or you've, deleted?
Well, growing up with my mum being so super creative, every year we'd have a different theme. I know one year it was just everything was silver. What you can make with milk bottle tops is amazing. So I think from that it's really pick a theme and play with it. So I'd say the one thing that I did fight for, amazingly, my mum went through a phase sort of 5, 6, 7 years ago of knitting 3 kings and a sheep and a Mary and a Daisy. So I have a knitted nativity scene.
Nice.
Oh, that's lovely.
I know. I'd say what dictates my Christmas decorations now is more coming back to the cats. Having 2 cats that just play with everything. It's like, well, okay, what's going to work? So, but anything goes. Whatever makes you happy.
Exactly. I think a lot of my childhood was, especially around the Christmas time, didn't bring back a lot of great memories because, you know, my parents were alcoholics, and my sisters were 13, 12, 11, 6 years older than me. So there was a lot of alcohol, and it wasn't always pleasant. There were some fun times as well, don't get me wrong. So for me, when I had my own children, it was very, very important for me to have that warmth and safety. So one of the traditions that we always had, Father Christmas always bought them you know, those cereal boxes, the little ones, because I never used to give them crap. So Christmas morning in their stockings, they always had like Cocoa Pops, and I would always be awake before them, and I would have the fireplace DVD on, crackling. I'd have the lights on, I'd have some music, I'd make them hot chocolate, and I'd be waiting and waiting for them to wake up. Parents was like, get up. And I just loved it. And they always knew when it was Christmas time, because we'd put up the decorations together, and then I'd turn the lights off and the fireplace would be on, and we'd be sat there together with hot chocolate. So yeah, no, it's really, yeah, I miss that. But there you go. I think my kids will be carrying on that tradition when they have their own. So, right. So along with Christmas, there's the excitement, but there's an awful lot of overwhelm as well for people. You know, they're having guests that are coming, and yet when they come to your house, you've still got shopping to do, cleaning to do, washing to do, your kids to look after, and so forth. So what advice or what tips, or have you been through this, can you share with us and the audience?
Lovely silence.
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit I don't have a lot of that, because I don't go home for Christmas. I stay in Dubai. And after the first few years of having children, I basically put a stop to, sounds harsh, but put a stop to having guests over on Christmas Day. I closed it to just us, because I found it that I spend so much time busy around everybody else, taking care of everybody else, and the extra washing and cleaning and making sure the kids are all okay, that I didn't get to spend Christmas Day with my family. You know, I didn't feel like I got to enjoy it. And that's why I decided, when the twins were probably 2, was the last time that, you know, and, you know, everyone was lovely. It wasn't anything happened. I just felt, I felt I was missing out on that young time with them on Christmas Day. For me, it was just so special. So that's what I did. And I set those boundaries. But then we would have guests over the day after. In Ireland, we call it St. Stephen's Day. I guess it's Boxing Day. And then that day was for other people. That day we had friends over and we barbecued, and we had the kids over. And that's how I balanced it out for me. So I got the best of both worlds, I felt.
Yeah. What about you, Wendy?
When I first came to Dubai, when my uncle was here, we used to have a waifs and strays Christmas lunch. So anybody who was kind of an expat on their own, didn't have any family, and were kind of at a loose end, we'd invite them. I used to work at Crown Plaza Dubai, so I just used to order a Christmas dinner. So they would cook it to take all the pressure off, and it was absolutely delicious. And yeah, we'd kind of rock up at midday, and you know, we'd eat ourselves and stupid, and there'd be like a secret Santa, so everybody had a little gift. And it was really about just chatting, and you know, there'd always be the phone call home and speak to my mum and speak to whatever family she was entertaining. But it was just a very chilled out day, which was nice. Yeah, and I'd say the last 5 years, I've got my godson who's 5 now, and sort of being part of that little family at Christmas. It's just lovely to have somewhere to go, and I do believe it's about the kids. So having a little 5-year-old sort of getting super excited with prezzies, and I'm in charge of entertainment, which
oh wow, for kids. Sure.
But I'm also, last year I had COVID over Christmas and New Year, so it's completely cancelled for me. So it was, I think we just hype it up so much. It's one day. And there's all of this build up, all of this pressure that we put ourselves under. And it's one day, and it's so materialistic now. You have to think about, who am I going to see? Got to have presents, got to do this, got to do that. We don't have to do anything. And And that was a bit of a wake-up call for me last year. It was like, all right. So I think I got out of bed at 3:00 in the afternoon. I had no toast, but I had sausage and egg. And I watched a movie or two, and I put myself back to bed and thought, that's it then.
Well, as you said, it is just one day. I mean, I do appreciate the religious aspect behind it as well. But if you keep things in perspective, and also like with growing up in the army, and then, you know, my dad might be away on exercise. When I was married, my ex-husband was an air traffic controller, so he did shifts. And it was a case of, okay, well, if he's working that day, Christmas would be Boxing Day or Christmas Eve. And it was always about us being together. And like you, Carol, I am and was very much the same. This is our family time. And I want to enjoy it with them and play their games and get on the floor with them and, you know, not serve others. But oh gosh, my brain's just gone completely dead because you mentioned, oh yes, memories. I wanted to say about the Christmas side of, you know, keeping up with the Joneses and the gifts and how expensive it is. You know, there are other alternatives to that. You know, sort of a couple of years ago, I woke the kids up and they were teenagers. And I said, right, your Christmas present, you will get it at 9:00. And they're like, where are we going? I says, I'll tell you. And then we went to the driving range and that was their Christmas present. We spent the morning playing, you know, golf and stuff. So there are other ways that you can actually do things and have that memory. But so you've set that boundary for yourself. And so for those that can't do that because the family have descended upon them or they've had to turn up, you know, what tips could you give them to try and, you know, take that deep breath, keep things in perspective?
I think it's exactly that, you know, taking the pressure off yourself. Because, I mean, as Wendy said, we put so much pressure on these days for it to be perfect, to be a certain way, or that we do things right. Everybody else is happy and enjoys themselves. But actually, I think taking a step back from that and saying it might not be perfect and that's okay. I don't have to be everything to everybody and that's okay. One thing I learned in recent years is, which a lot of people find surprising, that I'm actually quite introverted. And I used to push myself to the point of exhaustion, that I would be with people all the time. But now I've learned actually I need little breaks. If I need to take myself away and lock myself in the bedroom for 10 minutes, just to even just sit on my phone or take a few breaths, that's okay too. So I think it's knowing your boundaries, knowing your limits, and not putting that pressure on yourself to be everything to everybody is one thing that I learned. And then I enjoy it more. I can be more present. I'm less stressed. And then that positive energy impacts everybody.
Yeah.
I think for me, I feel better if I have a purpose. So whether that's washing up, volunteering for the boring jobs, or even the jobs that kind of take me away from the chaos for a while, similar to what Carol was saying. Or just being honest. I'm taking a tea break from Christmas. So I'll be back in half an hour, or, you know, I'm going to give myself an hour. I'm going to go and have a snooze, or, you know, why don't we do this? It's supposed to be about, you know, taking care of ourselves and celebrating and, pacing yourself.
Yeah, but there is that fear, as you said, of having to say that on that day. There's so much pressure of everybody's got to get on, you know, and people get together, and your auntie that nobody likes and your uncle that nobody likes gets together, or what have you. And, you know, it is about getting into that mindset. Okay, the chances are this is going to happen. What can I do when it does? Where can I go for that 5 minutes? Just go to the bathroom. And also that transition from, you know, you can get triggers around Christmas time from, you know, your guests and what have you. But to remember, you're not that 8-year-old anymore. You are a 30, 40, 50-year-old woman, man. And you don't have to choose to go back there. You can stay and be positive, and you go, you know what, this is me now. This is not happening, and these are my boundaries. But yeah, it can be quite difficult. So with organizing for Christmas, do you have any quick fire tips on how to help alleviate some of that, stress and that build up and the cooking and the presents? And, do you have a routine?
Well, I am an organizer by nature. So, but I will admit this year, I think is the least organized I've ever been for Christmas. And I'm okay now, but up until last weekend, it was really stressing me out just because I was so busy and it got pushed and pushed and pushed. The next thing I realized the date, I was like, oh my, what am I going to do? So I don't know if I'm best placed this year to talk about it, but usually I would be very organized in advance. And one thing that I did learn as well in recent years is to ask for help, because I would have been the one to try, I'll do everything. I'll just do it. It's okay. If I just do it, I'll just do it. I'll get it done. And I did get it done, but with what consequence? Exhaustion. And by the time it got to Christmas, I was already broken. So I think asking for help when you can. In Dubai, one of the things that we did was, like Wendy mentioned, we get the turkey in. Just take that whole time and pressure off and get the turkey in. And we'd always add bits to it then. We'd do our own vegetables and starters and that. But it saved a huge amount of time and effort. So being open to do these things, because I know people who just would be refuse to do that because they'd feel potentially like, well, what's my purpose if I'm not producing this? But it's okay. It's okay to do something that makes your life easier so that you can enjoy the day more.
Yeah, so finding what suits you and go with that. And also, you make a good point, Carol, because especially if you are an organized person and you're used to having those systems in place, and then you're sick or the kids are sick and you're running behind time, then there's that pressure that you put on yourself, when instead of going, you know what, this is out of my hands, this is the situation, this is where we are now, and we're going to run with that,
and so, that is so freeing, because that's something I've learned as well, like in recent years, that it's okay, it always gets done, and if it doesn't, no one's going to die. Not the end of the world. We can work around it, and it's really freeing to do that. And just be like, oh, it's okay. And again, it's back to that self-care, isn't it? And that self-kindness to go, stop putting, because we put this pressure largely on ourselves, I think. Sometimes it can come from outside us, but we mostly put it on ourselves to do things in certain ways or be perfect or do certain things. And actually, when we allow ourselves to step away from that, it makes things a lot easier. Makes my life a lot easier anyway, for sure, when I did that.
Absolutely. And we remember the things and we look back on them and we laugh about them. Oh, do you remember that got burnt? Or do you remember we served the dinner when we left the stuffing? And all these, we remember those things.
The time I threw the gravy down the sink.
Oh gosh, did you?
Yeah. Or from the turkey. Yeah, I'm still in trouble for that one, I think.
You won't be doing that this year, will you? You might forget the turkey, but you'll have the gravy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, it is. That's what we laugh at. You don't remember what the turkey was like that year, but I remember that mistake.
I know. It's funny because my kids remember the first Christmas when my ex-husband left was obviously very, very difficult for myself and the 3 children. And there was this special deal on, and it was for 8 days on a cruise ship for 6,500 dirhams for all of us, inclusive. And it was the day after my birthday and till Boxing Day. So it's a really, really good deal. We went to Oman and Abu Dhabi and all those things. But Christmas morning, on a cruise ship, in a cabin, with myself and 3 kids, trying to get the stockings and put the presents in the stockings. I fell off the top bunk. Both my boys woke up to hearing me go, shit, I've got my knickers on. They can see my bottom, and I'm trying to put the presents in the Christmas stocking. And they were going, it's a good job we know Father Christmas is, you're doing a bad job, Mum. But every year since that, they mention it. Oh, it's Christmas Eve. See you in the morning, trying to put the presents in. So, yeah, you do remember the funny things and when things don't go quite right. What about you, Wendy? What's coming up for you?
I think for me, it's about respecting each other and just, we've gone through a couple of tough years. So for one, Ben loves cooking, so he's happy to cook. I'm a certified chef, so I'm happy to jump in, but he doesn't want me. He's like, well, that's fine. Sherry actually works on Christmas Day, so this year she's on a late. So we time it to fit in with her day. And we just, we do a secret Santa. So we literally just buy for one person.
Yeah.
And, you can spoil that person. You don't have to buy for everybody. It takes all of that pressure away. So, yeah, and it's just having fun. Doing what makes me happy, whether it's me sitting on the floor playing with Gibson or me sort of, does anybody fancy going for a walk, especially after you've eaten all of that food and it's just like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable. But do you want some quiet time? Do you want some, it's get the board games out, but it's it doesn't matter if you break into small groups or just, take yourself off. It doesn't have to be full on all of the time. So yeah, and always my favorite is remember to breathe. So
100% remember to breathe. And I think it's really important that people start getting used to, and especially around any holiday time, to delegate. It's okay. Give the kids, yes, it's Christmas, but give the kids the job of setting the table. It doesn't matter if there's a spoon missing and the napkin's not folded correctly and what have you. It is about you as a family enjoying this as a family, or if you're with friends, again, not putting that pressure on that one friend to do everything. So
teamwork.
Exactly. It's breathing, delegating, and setting those healthy boundaries for yourself. And you're also, especially as mothers who do this, you are setting such a great example and being a good role model for those that do find that difficult. I mean, before we got on here, we were laughing and saying, how do you get rid of those guests that overstay their welcome? So we will end on that. So any tips for people who have those guests and you want to just get to bed? What do you say? I'm blunt. I just say good night. I'm tired. Last one to leave the door gets the cracker.
Yeah, it's a tough one because, definitely when I grew up, we wouldn't ask someone to leave. It just wouldn't happen. So I didn't have a role modeling for that. It was you stayed up and you entertained until your guests left, and that was it. Yeah. So yeah, it's a tough one. It is a difficult one. It depends on who it is too. Sometimes I'll just take myself to bed and leave them to it. Yeah. And sometimes I can be blunt and just say, I'm tired now. Actually, I need to go to bed. So I think it really depends on who it is and my relationship with that person. But I will not just stay on forever. But then I'll be honest, I am that person who stays up late. So it's rare that it would be an occasion that I want to go to bed before other people, unless I'm very tired.
Yeah, I think it's also an opportunity to set the intention beforehand. Come and join us for lunch until this time. We'll be open house. We'd love to have you until 8 p.m. or whatever the time is. and hold them to it. I remember growing up, I used to arrive at my grandparents' house, and my grandfather used to greet us, "Lovely to see you. What time are you going home?" And then, you know, if you were going on, if we were talking too much or whatever, he'd sort of come in. He said, "You got no homes to go to?" So he was very direct.
And I love that. I love the direct approach. I like to know that, personally speaking, and as you said, Carol, as well, with regards to, it does depend. And when I was growing up, again, we were taught, you know, the guests, you stay up until the guests leave. And I just thought, as an adult, hell no. Well, unless you want to get up with 3 children and take the dog out for a walk, then no. But again, it does depend. Like if it was my mother-in-law staying over, it'd be a case of, right, I'm off to bed. She's your mother, not mine. You can. I've entertained her all day. She's now yours. But yeah. So, ladies, thank you so much. There are a lot of good tips there for people that are going to be celebrating Christmas, and hopefully they'll walk away with knowing it's okay to breathe, to have some time out for themselves, and to delegate, and to ask people, when are they leaving? Have you got any homes to go to? And I would like to take this opportunity to wish everybody who is celebrating Christmas a very, very Merry Christmas. I hope it's a joyful and healthy one for you all. And thank you again, Carol and Wendy. So for tonight, good night, everyone. Thank you.